Once there was a girl with a passion for science who had dreams no other girls had at the time. In a time when women had no opportunities, she attempted the impossible. Will she succeed?
Born November 7, 1867 in Warsaw, Poland, was Maria Skłodowska, the fifth child of the family. The family at the time didn't have much money because of their poor investments, causing them to have to live at the school that her mother taught at until she was 5. Both her mother and father were teachers, her father being a math and physics teacher and her mother being the director of an all-girls private school. She had tuberculosis and in fear of spreading it to her children, tried to avoid physical contact and by consequence, affection towards her children.
What a sick mom.
One of her sisters died when Maria was 8, and her mother eventually died when she was 10. Her focus on her studies did not waver though. At an early age, she took interest in her father's subjects, math and physics, a start for her fascination in the sciences. She had good memory, and school was no trouble for her at all, as she graduated high school at the top of her class in every subject.
After getting her degree from Sorbonne University, she decided to do her doctorate, which seemed impossible at the time because no other women had completed this. Maire needed a lab for her research. A mutual friend put in contact with Pierre to ask if he could help her by letting her use his lab. This was the beginning of their cute love story. Pierre had no ambitions to get into a relationship as he thought a woman would interfere with his work, but Maire was different. The two lovebirds discovered they had similar interests despite coming from different backgrounds. Their mutual passion for science and hard-working caricatures brought them closer together. In fact, the first gift Pierre had bought for Maire was not chocolate nor flowers, but a copy of the book on symmetry and physical phenomena, symmetry of an electric field and of a magnetic field.
Wow, that was beautiful. Crying, boo-hoo, wow. Sorry, I get emotional whenever I hear this story.
Okay then. Anyways, they got married and after their quick honeymoon, they went straight to work. Maire embarks her research on Henry Becquerel's discovery of uranium rays. Henry Becquerel accidentally discovered that uranium gives off rays that are similar to X-rays. He hypothesized that uranium had an electric field that could conduct the air, but he had trouble proving this with experiments, so he dropped the topic. This inspired Maire to do her research on the strange rays of uranium. Since not much research was done on this topic, she went straight to experimenting. Pierre and his brother Jack discovered the piezoelectric effect, which is voltage created by creating pressure on certain crystals. Using the piezoelectric effect, they created a device called the electrometer that can measure these very faint electric currents. Maire used the device to measure the faint electric fields that were given off by uranium rays as it passes through air, and then she tested it with every element that was known at the time to see if any of these elements had these strange uranium rays. Maire placed some uranium on a plate and charged that with a battery. A couple inches above the plate was another plate, and as expected, the energy leaked from the bottom plate through the air to the top plate. To measure the current, she matched the current using a piezoelectric crystal. The two currents were the same when the scale says 0. After the experiment, she discovered that the electrical effects of uranium are constant and not affected by any changes such as heat, light, and state of uranium. So intensity of electrical effects was determined by the quantity of uranium, not the physical and chemical properties of it. She also discovered that the atoms of these radioactive elements were breaking down slowly, emitting energy. This was groundbreaking research because scientists at the time believed that atoms were indivisible, but her discovery of nuclear decay goes against that theory. While doing further tests on uranium, she realized that pitchblende, which is the ore that uranium is found in, was more radioactive than uranium itself. This made her believe that there are more radioactive elements in pitchblende. To extract the mystery elements, Maire created a process called fractional crystallization. She broke down the pitchblende and measured the radioactivity of the different parts. She threw out the parts that were not radioactive until she found a highly radioactive element. At the end, she found two new elements, one containing bismuth and the other containing barium, which she named polonium and radium. She knew radium was a new element because it had unique spectral lines. Scientists did not believe she discovered a new element, so she had to prove it to them by proving that the atomic weight of radium is different from all other elements. To do this, she had to isolate radium from barium and then collect a sample size that was measurable. This was very hard because only 1/100 of a gram of radium was found in a ton of pitchblende. It was also very hard labor as she had to mix a ton of pitchblende in a gigantic pot with a metal rod that was the size of her. After many years, she finally got a measurable sample size and she proved that she had discovered a new element. After all her hard work, she finally received her doctorate in 1903 and became the first female to receive a doctoral degree.
Wow, that's a crazy story. I'm happy it worked out in the end, and I'm sure they made a lot of money from it.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money,
Not really. Although they could have claimed all rights to working with radium and make a lot of money from it, they believed that science was for everyone, so they shared their research with scientists all over the world, and those other scientists were able to discover new elements.
Although she accomplished a lot throughout her life, it did not come easy for her. She faced many challenges throughout her life, majority of it being because of her identity as a Polish woman during a hostile time. When Marie was growing up in Warsaw, it was under Russian rule at the time, which was horrible for Marie and her family because they were trying to remove all traces of Polish culture, punishing the teaching of it, and forbidding Polish women from going to university to get higher education. Because of this, she and her sister agreed to make enough money and pool it together for them to both move and go to the University of Paris together. During her time working towards the goal, she also spent all of her free time studying, often attending the floating university in Poland, which was a secret illegal night school that gave her the opportunity to get an education.
I guess you can say she was being sus.
Yes, she was. When she finally got to studying at the University of Paris, it came with a whole new set of challenges. Initially, she was falling behind because of the slight language barrier, being in France, and the difference in education levels between Poland and France. She was also very, very broke. The house she moved into was extremely small and had no heating, so she had to wear all her clothes in order to keep her warm. She also could not afford food or had the time to make it, so she was always hungry, and once she even fainted from her hunger.
She was broke as hell. I probably would have failed and left if I was her.
But you're not her. Even despite this, she graduated top of her physics class with a master's degree and another one in mathematics. But the struggles don't end just yet. The new elements they discovered were radioactive, and since no research had been done on the topic, they did not realize the decline of their health was due to these elements. Marie lost 20 pounds during her research, and they both experienced effects such as burnt, numb fingers, and exhaustion. She eventually died from aplastic pernicious anemia. Even today, her nose and body are still radioactive, and those who would like to read through her notes must sign a waiver and wear protective gear, as radium-226 has a lifespan of 1600 years.
Although Mary had to go through these obstacles, it all paid off in the end. Due to her hard work and determination, she was able to overcome the obstacles that were in her way. Mary was the first to accomplish many things as a woman. Maire and Pierre received many awards for their discovery, but the most notable one was the Nobel Prize. In 1903, Marie, Pierre, and Henri Becquerel won the Nobel Prize in Physics for their discovery of radiation. However, Marie was initially excluded from the award simply because she was a woman. Luckily, Pierre wrote to the Nobel Prize Academia saying that he won't accept the award unless Marie is credited for the work that was mainly hers. They ended up giving Marie the award as well, but she didn't actually receive the award that year because she wanted to continue her research. So it wasn't until 1905 when she flew to Stockholm to receive the award and present her speech. She won her second Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the isolation of radium in 1911. This made her not only the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, but the only person in history to win 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 different fields of science.
Not only did she contribute to science, but she also played a huge role in helping her country win World War I. She created the idea that X-rays could be used to find bullets and broken bones of wounded soldiers. She created mobile radiology trucks that were equipped with a generator and X-ray machine, and also trained 150 women in anatomy and X-ray photography.
Her discoveries in science have made huge impacts on the world today. Marie created the idea that radioactivity could be used to treat cancer, and it is now one of the main treatments. Radioactivity is also used today for space exploration because it is a high-power and long-lasting energy source that has helped us travel deep into space and discover new things about our universe.
Marie Curie has accomplished and overcame a lot throughout her life. When she wanted to do something, no matter what it was, she went on or did it, no matter what it was and what the obstacles were. Whether it's going to Paris for her education, discovering a new element, or working in the war, or becoming the first female physics professor at Sorbonne, she overcame whatever was in her way.